to do. All right, everybody. Well, we should be live streaming right now. So welcome everybody to the March. Can't believe it's March already. The March meeting of the Strand Astronomers. And I'm sorry if I seem a little distracted. I'm waiting for the live stream to pop up on my other screen and I have to mute it. Otherwise we'll get a really nasty feedback loop. So yeah, welcome to Strand Astronomers for March. We had observing session in February 18th. We had our observing session. It was a little cool, but it was a pretty nice night. We had a couple people, a number of scopes show up, and we actually helped somebody with a new setup that they had, and so I get to play with some new technology by helping some folks. So a couple things I kind of wanted to just cover real quick. First of all is the schedule for this month is on the 18th. We are planning a observing session at Hampton Plantation, or Hampton Historic Site, right? This is going to be a little bit different because this is going to be a Messier marathon we're going to try, right? Now, does that mean you can't come out and observe if you don't want to do the marathon? You don't want to stay out all night long? Well, yeah, you don't have to stay out all night long, but we do have the opportunity to stay out all night long, okay? And so there are going to be restroom facilities there, of course, right? Not showers. But we're going to ask that everybody let us know in advance if you're going to attend. I mean, you don't have to let us know tonight, right? But I mean, it's the 18th, so like maybe prior to March 15th, and I'll send out an email to everybody and post the information about that. So I'm kind of curious. Has anybody ever done a Messier marathon?
No.
No. Okay, they're actually a lot of fun. If you want to do it. The goal is to, the ultimate goal is to try to see all the Messier objects in a single night. And March is actually one of the times when you can theoretically do that, right? I say theoretically because there's a couple that are really tough. And it's kind of interesting. There's two ways to do it. Some people star hop their way to it, which is really terrific. And some people will use GoTo, but still both are pretty challenging. And there's a specific order you need to look at things in. And so I was going to talk a little bit about doing them because they are fun. I mean, I've never had a perfect one. I think I got to 108, I think. And so I've never been able to crack the whole thing. But it's actually, there's an order, and I can show you a website. There's some websites that give you planners for the order you want to look at it. And what really happens is you need to do it pretty quickly at first, because there's a whole bunch of objects that are just going down, like M77, M74, M31, M110, M32, M33. So there's this huge race right when it gets dark. I mean, you have to be set up very early before, and when you first can start observing stuff, you need to be able to do that to catch those ones that are like low in the west. And so the trick is not to like set up against the trees on the western horizon, because that's going to be a challenge for you, right? And then you kind of like race for a little while and then move quickly for a little. And then if you move quickly for a little while, it turns out like about 11:30 or 12, you basically catch up with everything in the sky, right? And then what a lot of people do is they go to sleep for like 2 or 3 hours, get in their car and sleep for 2 or 3 hours, and then get up, and then you hit all those spring and summer objects. And then, usually it's a little tough. The worst is M30, which comes up pretty much near dawn. And, so you got to be able to pick that out. Most people line up on where they think it's going to be. They try to get lined up about where it's going to be. before the sun comes up to see if you can see it. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun to do. I don't know if you could image your way through it or not. You'd have to be pretty low res imaging because you don't have a lot of time, especially at first, right? So I don't know if you could like take a couple of quick images, take a couple quick images and keep moving. I don't know if you could do that or not, but so it should be interesting to try to do. And one thing is because we kind of want to do this, you can bring a tent and you can bring a camper. And we're also going to be flexible on the day. So it may flex to Friday or Sunday, depending on the weather. Unless, of course, they're all just, right, you know. So it's going to be the first trial run we're there overnight at Hampton Historic Site. So we're going to see how it works out. But you know, again, even if you're not doing the Messier Marathon, you can certainly come out to observe. Hopefully the weather will be good, right? You know, March tends to be statistically a pretty good month here in the Carolinas for cloud cover. I have no idea what the pollen will look like by then, but I still suspect it will be substantial. So I kind of have to take that into account, right? I was going to call up and mention, let's see, pardon me, while
There's just a question on the marathon. Is there any value in splitting the load? Let's say you've got two go-to telescopes that you go for different targets and you can sort of swap over and look and then move on if time is precious.
I think that would be, yeah, that's a good question. Never thought about that, but that would probably be extremely useful, especially in the first part. All right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, while you're looking at something, say your other scope could be going to that location, going to the next one, because that first blast of like M77, M74, and then the whole, M31, M32, M110. If you don't do those quickly, you kind of start out like, oh, I missed one, right?
Yeah.
So, that would probably be, and to me, it seems like 74 and 77 are the harder ones to find. So, although M31's low too, so two scopes may be useful for that, right? But there's some really good, there's some good websites that will generate planners with pictures for you. The one I think is kind of cool, and I'm going to try to, well, you know what? I can just pull it up here and share my screen. How about that?
There is I know for definite on Mead, and I think it exists on Celestron, there's a high precision mode. So if you tell it to go to an object, what it'll do is go to the brightest star near it, and you center that, and then it'll move on to the object that you want it to go to.
Yes, and so things like that are really convenient for just doing the speed, right?
Yeah. So it kind of calibrates it before you go there.
Yeah. So, because I mean, you don't have a lot of time once it gets dark, because you have to move fast, initial part, right? And that's probably one of the biggest things I learned doing these, right? It's actually a lot of fun. So I'm going to try to share one of my screens. This is out of the one of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. This is actually a pretty good little planner. Can everybody see the screen or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me see if I could bring it up a little bit so that makes it easier for people watching on the video. And you can pick a city, and I'm pretty sure they have Myrtle Beach on there.
Yeah.
And we set our time. The horizon limit's 10 degrees. Okay, and you can do when you want to view astronomical, nautical. Usually do nautical because you got to kind of get a little early. And then you can go ahead and submit it. And what it gives you is it gives you a table here of the objects in the order you should observe them, right? And you can see that 74 and 77, and again, they're going to be pretty low, are really the ones that you kind of want to get first, right? And then M33, right? Again, because it's M33 is pretty dim, right? So you can see it's actually higher in it's actually both 77 and 33 and 74 are actually higher in right ascension than M31, M32, and M110, right? So and even M52, right? But those are easier to see, right? So that's kind of why they stack these guys up first, right? And then you just kind of see you got this little blast at first where things are close together. You kind of like going through, and then all of a sudden it starts jumping up here to like 3 and 5. The RA, right? So once you get this initial blast, this adrenaline rush at first to get these first ones, right? Then it starts going at a more reasonable pace, right? But you can see there's a whole bunch here now starting about 5. So you're working pretty steady. And then there'll come a point where, it will start jumping. And you'll find that you move your way across the sky. And then the really tricky part, of course, is going to be near the end. So the trick is to kind of make sure you have a decent view of the western part of the sky and the southeastern part of the sky, because near the end, the stuff is going to be in the southeast, right?
So
And
basically, you want to be in the car park at Hampton.
pretty much, yeah, you'll be kind of up against that fence, yeah.
Yeah.
Now it says M30 is not possible. Again, that they're doing that based on a calculation of the light, and I'd agree that that's going to be tricky. I don't know if it's not possible. What are they saying? A, not possible. A.
But there's a comment to the right of it said not possible due to
Yeah, the
is
highest altitude attained. So it's going to be below 10 degrees because I had a 10-degree limit.
low altitude at sunrise. Yeah. So M30 cannot be viewed in March at all for observers above 35 degrees. What are we?
We're 33-ish.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So we're kind of just under
it's
that limit.
it's right on the edge,
Yeah.
so that's actually just I mentioned that because if you've been like really super diligent, you've got everyone before that, right? That one's going to be the challenge, right? And so one of the challenge would be if you do, when you have a go-to scope, is to go ahead and get lined up and get it
Yeah.
pointed at that before it even rises, so that the second, see what you can pull up, right? It's hard to do. Yeah, it's difficult to do. I don't know what kind of what they gave us, 3342. Yeah, okay, that's not too bad. It's
You
a
saw
little.
they give you the latitude for Hampton. Quickly, hold on a sec.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about that.
All right, let's see. So yeah, 33.2. There's not a whole lot of difference.
You said 33.2.
0.2. So 0.2 of 60 is what? Divided by 5 is 12. So minutes is 12.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I don't know what the does it have the altitude? Did I tell it to
Or maybe you want to
includes
change the
times
nautical 12 degrees. Mind you, what's
rising?
the height of those trees?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't take a measurement of that. I have
I
an
guess,
app on my phone that will let me take measurements so I could figure out the horizon. I was going to put it in Stellarium
yeah,
because you can create a file that goes in Stellarium that gives you that, and I actually don't know. So I submitted that. Let's see what it says. Sorry if we follow wrong. Is that well, I didn't get the column IDs. Wait a minute. Max altitude is right there, and then rise and set time. Okay. So max altitude, and then skip to, and then rise and
yes.
set.
Yeah, if you
So you can
put
see
the
some of
left,
these, you see during the middle of the night, you're in pretty good shape, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah, some of them are, pretty high, well over 60. Um, and then it starts going down here, right? 20, 19, 19, and it's saying 4 right there. And the rise time is 6:41, right? No, sorry, that's 6:17. And I don't know what sunrise sunset is on that day.
look. The date,
March 18th. Actually, this is not as bad as I thought. It says that it is 7. Oh, sorry. March 18th. It says it's 7:22 a.m.
and we've got there was 6:17. So it's going to be
So
in the twilight.
it's going to be in the
Um,
twilight. So, the interesting thing, it's low, but if we can try to figure out the southeast, if it's low enough that we can see it, it's not impossible, right? And
which
fortunately it's a compact globular, so it's a little bit brighter. Hey, Tim. Um,
so what did you
so
say that date was?
March 18th,
18th. So astronomical twilight is 5:59.
right? And nautical starts at 6:28.
Yeah,
So it's not impossible.
5:59, 6:41. Yeah, we should be able to do it. If the tree line's not.
Yeah, it might be a bit, yeah. Doing the whole thing is challenging, but like I said, it is fun. And again, if anyone doesn't want to just do the Messier Marathon, just wants to do observing, if the weather's nice, that's fine too, right? But after chasing a lot of faint objects, it's kind of fun to sit back and do the Messiers, right? Because they're fairly bright objects, and it's not like you're working on the Herschel 400s and you're like looking at really trying to find really faint galaxies using averted vision, right? Other than probably the initial ones, right? So
Question. Got a question.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Sorry I'm late. Is there a link for this site you're putting up here?
Yeah, I can send it out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I was just talking about the Messier Marathon, and there's a couple of sites that give you the plan of the order you should observe, right? Based on, the most logical order, right? And we were talking about that and how it's a kind of a rush at first, but it's a lot of fun. So it'll be interesting to give this a try, right? So certainly we're gonna go ahead and do that on oh, it's Thursday, March 2nd. I have the wrong date in there, don't I? I did not set the right date.
All right, let's have another look.
March 18th. And see, I don't understand this one, that M110 is not possible. It must be because it's right at 10 degrees, because it's got M31 and M32, and I've never seen M31 and M32 without seeing 110. So you do have to kind of take it with a grain of salt a little bit. Oh, it moved M30.
621.
Yeah, 621. So, yeah, and the yeah. Oh, sorry. That yeah. So it's possible, right? I think it might be possible. It looks like it's right at 11 degrees. So they don't like us for the initial one. They like us for M30 is not bad. They don't like us. They that this is kind of telling me that doing the initial one's going to be challenging. So you want to have the best view of the western sky. So you kind of want to be against the against the eastern skyline there some. But Chris, I think you're right about somewhere being sort of by the parking lot.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. So on the 18th, sunset is sunrise, nautical twilight is 6:28, and that was at 6 what? 21. So you got 7 minutes. And that's excluding the tree line.
Yeah. So I mean, really line up beforehand, and try to, if you can, right? And here's what things set. What time is sunset?
Sunset is nautical astronomical twilight 8:48. What would you estimate the tree line to be? Are there 10, 15 degrees? Because 15 degrees is an hour.
I don't think it's 15. I think it's lower than that, especially on the west end side. And I don't know if I can get out there prior to this.
Well, even if we go 5 to 10 degrees, let's say halfway between that, that's 30 minutes.
Well, I know we're going out live. I don't know if I can commit to it, but I can try to see if I can get down there and take some readings. Again, I have an app on my phone that lets me create a horizon file that you can use in Nina or Stellarium. I do have that for home here, but I haven't done one for Hampton. I was going to do it last time I was out, and frankly, I got delayed going out. It was kind of a crazy day, and so it was already after dark when I got there, and I couldn't take it. But maybe I'll see if I can get out there and just take a few readings, because that may matter, right?
Yeah. From memory, the eastern tree line is quite high.
The eastern's quite high. I think the western is lower.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not sure how low. I don't know if it's quite 10 degrees or not. It might be less than 10 degrees. I don't think it's like 3 or 4, but I'll have to check.
Yeah,
If I
5
can get out,
degrees is 20 minutes.
yeah. Let me see if I can get out there. It's not, because I'll be home all next week, and it's not that far a drive for me. And I do know I can use my app to actually stand out there and actually get exact readings, get a series of readings. And then what we can do is we can make up a little file. You can, if everybody has Stellarium, right? We can just share out that file. It's just a simple text file. It has the various azimuths and the various elevations at various azimuths.
There is a way, and I haven't figured it out yet, where you can take a panoramic photograph of the spot that your telescope's going to be in, and you can superimpose that on stellarium.
You can. I'm just using basically I just take the measurements and it just does like a block
Yeah.
thing. I just use that just as a way to indicate whether something's above or below the horizon.
Okay.
But yes, I would love to get a panoramic image. I guess we need to set up maybe a tripod. And there's, yeah, you can set up a panoramic image and there's like some setting in stellarium where it tells it where it starts in terms of the azimuth. But I've never tried to blend that in. I've just done the block one. Because you can also feed that into Nina.
Okay.
In 2.0, they added that. So for your planning, you know, when it gives you the observability and everything, you can add that in. So it will tell you, you know, based on your local site, how much time you have and when you can start. Fun stuff.
Can you spell that Nina program?
Yeah, that's for astrophotography. That's it's like nighttime imaging something or other. But Stellarium is probably the better one to use if you're just doing visual work.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got that. Thanks.
And then you can put those local horizon files in to Stellarium, and they're pretty simple to make. And you know, again, I can if I take some measurements out there next week, I can send out the file for everybody, and you can stick it in Stellarium, and it just gives you an additional landscape, right? But it'll be a block landscape, and you know, it'll let you kind of plan for stuff at Hampton. But it'd be great if we could figure out how to take the image, I guess a panoramic image, because that would be really handy to make that available. So I don't know if you can do that with a mobile phone or. So I guess I'll have to do a little research on that. Because that way we could put the landscape in, which would be even better, right? Because then you can actually see what things will look like. So that's a good idea. Take a note on that. Speaking of Hampton Plantation, we had discussed previously, well, we discussed in our last meeting, the joint one with the Low Country Stargazers, that about our agreement with Hampton Plantation for using the site. And there were a couple issues that came up, but I think the issues are fairly straightforward. You know, one of the issues was, what does it mean to be engaged with the community? And, you know, how much obligation will that be on members? And really what that boils down to is that it boils down to just what they would like to do is if we have public events, they want us to mention, you know, like Hampton is a dark sky site and that we have events out there. So I think that's not too onerous a thing. It doesn't mean we have to do any political activism or we have to go to town council meetings and try to get lights banned or anything like that, right? That was the concern, right? Do we actually need to become very politically active? Then they're not asking us to do that.
Well,
Sorry.
I was thinking about that a couple of days ago. So they mentioned a duty to educate the general public. If we put something in our newsletter, then we've educated the general public.
Right. And like when we do public observing sessions, maybe you know, when we print some brochures, we just mention that we observe at Hampton Plantation. And so Jason said that's what he's looking for, exactly what you were just talking about and that kind of stuff. So the good news is that doesn't seem to be an issue. And there's the financial part as well. And it seems like we're coming to an agreement on that as well, right? It's not substantial. It'd probably be more substantial if we start making astronomical specific improvements. For example, you know, some folks were already talking about putting concrete pads out and things like that. for observing. And it's like, well, if we do that, that's not something the state wants to pay for, right?
Yeah.
But for right now, I had a talk with the Low Country Stargazers, or some of the officers. We're not going to pursue anything like that. It's just we're going to use it for observing. Let's get the initial stuff done, and get the dark sky status, and then as we go along, we'll figure out if additional things make sense, right? So
I got a suggestion or maybe a small idea. I was back in Pittsburgh. What the astronomy group up there did is they put out these little business cards and just hand them out to whoever showed up. And gave,
right, and yeah, so we probably should eventually get some promotional things like that, right? Because I think business cards are actually, I think you can get some pretty promo deals that are pretty cheap.
yeah,
So we should look into doing that, actually. That's a good idea, Tim. But yeah, so the next steps, I think the next steps we were talking about is putting together like a steering committee. So basically representatives from each club will just go and meet with the Hampton folks. And we're actually trying to see if we could maybe meet before the Messier Marathon, since a lot of us will be down there anyway. No reason to make people drive, right? And just meet and talk about, what the next steps are, and ironing out the rest of the stuff. So anybody that's interested in that, whether you're watching the video, whether you're in this meeting, you can just let me know by email if you're interested in participating with that. So of course that doesn't mean if you're not on the steering committee, it doesn't mean we you can't volunteer to do other things there. But if you're interested in like finishing off all the organizational stuff, let me know. I have agreed to do it, but certainly there's room for other people as well.
I don't mind helping out with that.
Okay. I don't think there's that much work to do in this, and I think that it's great to have a dark sky site and a site that's willing to work with us, right? And what's interesting is doing the overnight Messier Marathon is kind of like a little bit of an experiment, because if it works out, you could maybe consider doing, consider doing like a little star party or something in the fall, where we stay like a night or two or something, right? So that could be kind of interesting too, because you don't have to drive a long way compared to some of the other star parties. So I think it's all moving in the right direction. So that's I just kind of want to give everybody that little update on Hampton. So also wanted to ask everybody about public observing events and what they think about trying to do that.
What does that entail?
Well, it's just basically going to entail bringing our scopes out somewhere, and for the public to and look at stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
it's all
And
mine.
that event we did with the school kids on the beach that night, that was fun.
That was fun. We can certainly look at that, actually. Yeah, there was a lot of folks came out for that. We had talked with that's Myrtle Beach State Park, for those of you that weren't there for that. We had talked with them about getting something going. Of course, then COVID, I hate to use COVID as an excuse for everything, but I'm going to. Then COVID struck, and that kind of just went by the wayside. So we probably should restart that discussion as well. I'm trying to make myself not look so pale on the video. I mean, I look terrible, don't I? I don't feel as bad as I look. So see if I get a little more natural color. I could certainly engage and talk to my contact there and see. It's actually pretty centrally located, so that might not be a bad idea at all, right?
Yeah.
And it was pretty good views. I mean, pretty open skies, and we were able to set up all our scopes right there. And
Yeah, it's a nice little spot.
Is it in a
Yeah, we
parking
can-
lot or on one of the wooden walkways or?
no, it's not really set up like that. They actually have this section where they have like these wooden shelters.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
These they're
Picnic
like
table.
shelters with like picnic tables underneath them,
Yep.
but they're a little bit larger. They're not just like one picnic table, a little bit larger than that. And normally people reserve them. But there's a lot of open space around them. So, you can park, and then there's a lot of open grass areas that overlook the beach. There's like this grassy area, large grassy area where the one we did it on that like overlooked it. And then there was a little drop down to go to the beach, right? So we set
Oh,
up on
wow.
that grassy area, and it actually worked out really well because you can see a lot of the sky. And it was a pretty good night. That was just when we were getting started, and again, it was pre-pandemic, so there was actually an event going on. I think Ocean Bay Middle had an event going on that was the reason we kind of glommed onto that, right?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
ready for a
supposed to be
reset.
some event for the moon for school kids, but they've got so many telescopes they're already focused on the moon. We've got a couple on Jupiter and Saturn, and that kind of widened it up. And the kids were really interested in it. In fact, there's
Yeah.
a long line of parents trying to look through the scopes as well.
So I could certainly touch base with Myrtle Beach State Park and see. I think it's worth trying something. And then we go from there. So yeah, we can give that a whirl. See if we can, now that the weather's getting a little bit nicer, and maybe we'll target it to be a little out of pollen season.
You see the picture that the guy took coming in for a landing?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
It's crazy right now, Every year it surprises me, and I don't know why, right? Every year it's like I forget how bad it is, and I go out, oh man.
yeah. I've never
Yeah,
seen the ocean yellow like that before, though.
No.
Yeah. I don't know if it's all because it's all coming down all at once, or
Oh, it is early, isn't it not?
Yeah,
it is. Maybe that means it'll be over early. I can hope. Well, I can always hope. I guess the timing depends on the species of the tree, but
Yeah.
actually not an expert on that. But hopefully the warm weather gets it over early, and then we can get on with observing. James, if you're trying to speak, I think you're on mute. Yeah, we can see your lips moving, but we can't hear you.
How about that?
I can hear you now, sir.
That sounds great. Anyhow, I'm new to astronomy. Brand new.
welcome.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Still.
Yeah,
But I was going to go to your house out there on the other side of Conway. And then I looked on the thing on the web page, and it said online. So basically it's no personal meetings.
So yeah, the regular indoor meetings. Okay, so that's a great question, and it kind of leads me to my next topic. So perfect. The regular indoor meetings we were doing online, because a lot of people were attending online anyway, because we were doing them at Coastal Carolina University, and it was a long drive for a lot of people, and so a lot of people were doing them or attending them online. So in terms of doing things in person, some of the things we do in person are we do our observing sessions. right? Because obviously it's not much fun doing those online.
Yeah.
The public observings, like we were just talking about. We're also talking about getting together for at like a restaurant or something for socializing and general astronomy talk. And that actually brings me to my next topic, because we looked at some places, the other officers and I, and we saw a place Gerald, you're gonna have to remind me what that is.
Dagwoods.
Yeah,
It's
it's in
Dagwoods.
Dagwoods. Is that in Surfside or?
Yes, I think it's Surfside.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to ask, what would be are people interested in doing that? And those getting together, and it's a pretty reasonably priced place. Has a wide variety on the menu, and we thought they've got. I don't know if we can get the little back room they have. We can try. But I thought we'd talk a little astronomy and just kind of hang out, and see if people would be interested in that, and if so, what's a good day to do that? Are Thursdays good for people, or?
Well, Thursday is my wife and my night out. We usually go to dinner on a Thursday evening.
We'll bring her along.
Yeah.
She ain't interested in it.
I hear you.
Thursday night would be a bad night for me.
Okay. Is there a better night for people? I'm not married to Thursday nights, but
I'm open for anyone, and I think it would be a good idea because there's a few new members that joined the same time I did. I saw their names on their new membership. And I think it'd be interesting to meet whomever is at the thing face to face. I see Tim Kelly there, and he's from Pittsburgh. That's a good city. I was born there.
So was I.
And then, of course, I moved to Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and then I moved here to South Carolina. But like I said, I would be interested in meeting people face to face because I personally have a lot of questions about astronomy and using the telescope. Like I said, I'm new at it. My only observation of the sky was by eye, and it was basically when I was sitting on the beaches fishing in Delaware and Virginia. And the sky amazed me because I could see the satellites and everything, on the particular nights that we were sitting there watching it. Also saw the movement of the stars while we were sitting there. You see them changing their position. And like I said, that was my thing on astronomy. Visual viewing. And yes, I know you can see a lot of things, but of course, with the areas being populated, the light pollution is getting worse.
Yes, it is.
it is. That's one reason we go down to Hampton Historic Site or Hampton Plantation, because it's better down there. It's a bit of a drive, but it's pretty good for doing your viewing. So two things. Yeah. So, I mean, certainly I would encourage you to, if you come out to an observing session, and there'll be plenty of people that can help you. But also, I agree with meeting face to face. So I don't know, would Friday nights be better for people, or?
I'm pretty easy, Ian.
Okay.
Me too.
Friday looks good to me.
All right. So let me pick a Friday. And I'll send something out to everybody. And we can just make I'll just make a reservation. So yeah, let me do that then. And I would like to get those kind of regularly, and we don't always have to do them at Dagwoods, but we just looked in, a couple of us looked at the menu and thought it was pretty reasonably priced, and they had a pretty wide, reasonable variety, right?
They do great
So-
onion rings.
Oh, so you've been.
Yeah, a few times.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
So yeah, all right. So we'll give it a whirl, and then we'll see if we can get a kind of a regular thing going there, right? So and that way, as you said, James, it's good to also do the face-to-face component, right?
Yes.
So, hey, perfect. Glad you brought that up. It was perfectly timed. So it was the next thing I wanted to talk about. So did anybody else have anything they kind of wanted to? I think I covered most of the business. Gerald, did I miss anything?
No, no, just yeah, you hit everything we talked about at our board meeting.
Great. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about or anything interesting that?
Oh, in our
Yes.
newsletter, I did get permission from Orion to include in our publication their night sky projection for the coming month. So yeah, they sent them an email and they replied, yes, you can use our star chart.
Oh, excellent. You should probably talk a little bit about the newsletter.
Okay.
Very good job. Very good job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I found a template, but yeah, I saw, I've been looking at other clubs because, we're a new club, right? And so, trying to hopefully generate, interest in between meetings, because a lot of people can't make the meetings or they can't make the, the turnouts or they can't make the outings. So I thought this might be a good way just to keep people plugged into what we're doing. So this was the first shot. I think we all got a lot of positive feedback. Tim gave me a lot of good suggestions we'll hope to implement. But, it won't be just my effort because I'll need, a lot of input, from other people. I used Chris's picture this time. I would love to get, pictures from various members and articles, people share their experiences or, have an article they like to share. Yeah, I'll be asking for that, probably we'll do another one at the end of this month. So in a couple of weeks, I'll put out a call for support for the newsletter. So anybody feel free to, join in, and then you just send me the the raw unformatted, and I'll just put it into the template we've got. So it should be easy to to send stuff in.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you so much for working on that, Gerald. I mean, it's fantastic to have a newsletter up and running. So it was a good yeah, I like the way it was designed, and I thought did a great job on it. So
Oh, thank you. Found the template. So,
I'll make a spot on the website to hold it.
okay.
I know
cool.
the website may not be the most beautiful website in the world, but I do what I can. Anybody
It's a
knows
start.
anybody that designs websites or is willing to or anybody with artistic talent, gladly take some input on that, right?
It's working good so far.
Yeah, it works. Don't get me wrong, but not the most elegant web designer in the world, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
and
but
also dues. We got the online option now to do the dues, but everybody's dues, I guess, were due in January. Our membership's running January to January, right?
yeah, unless you joined like in the fourth quarter last year, which case you already paid up. So
Right. Okay.
so anybody that just recently joined has already paid up, right? So
Anybody look into my problem?
I said I was going to do it. I said I was going to look into your problem, and I didn't do it, Tim, and I apologize for that.
You're a busy man, so
Um, Yeah, not really. It's the truth, not an excuse, but it's the truth.
Somebody-
So
Can somebody send me an application, email it to me? I'll print it out and mail it in.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I mean, we can probably use your information that we had in the past, right? 'Cause
Yes, you
unless
can.
it's changed.
No,
Um,
but you got to get the money.
yeah. Well, if we do that dinner, you can just bring it or something. Or if you come down to Hampton next time, you know,
All right, count on me.
we're not gonna drop you. So, you know, I don't know what happened there. I need to get with John to look at what was going on if PayPal recorded any errors, right? Certainly, so that brings up another good point. Certainly, anybody that has trouble with using that PayPal interface, just again, drop us an email, let us know, right? So, and again, you don't have to use PayPal if you don't want to. You can still do it the traditional way. So it's just just another way for people that find it more convenient. Yeah, so again, we talked a little bit about being out there in February at Hampton. It was actually pretty good conditions. There's the fellow from the Low Country Stargazers that was out there, the one that has the 2600, Chris, was getting some really good shots of the Horsehead Nebula, and it was coming out really, really nice. So he actually stayed late by himself to do some extra imaging. So.
I did talk with Ben Abercrombie of Play Card this week, just exchanging emails. And he said, anytime we want to hold an event out there, he will work with us. So pretty much an open invitation.
So that's a good thing to talk about as well. So what we're talking about, for those of you that may not recognize the name, Play Card Environmental Center or Education Center is out near Loris, right?
Yes.
So it's not as dark as Hampton, but it's not like being in downtown Myrtle. And so they're willing to have observing sessions out there as well. So are people interested in maybe doing a couple of those as well?
Same distance for me.
About the same, yeah. I think it might. I know it's the same. It might be the same distance for a number of folks. I know for Ronnie and myself, it's much longer.
Yeah.
But especially for Ronnie.
It takes me 40 minutes to get there from Myrtle Beach, and whereas Hampton is an hour and a half. So, you know.
Yeah. No, I'm not discouraging it by any means.
But I mean, for some, it is a little closer.
I think for outreach, it's great, but there's a lot of traffic that comes down that road. If you're doing visual observing, maybe. I just found that it's a nice dark sky spot. There's a lot of traffic coming past with the bright lights.
Right. Yeah, it's not as good as Hampton.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then we're showing most likely new people.
Well, so we want to try to? I know we talked about getting something going with Myrtle Beach State Park. Do we want to try to get a session going out there?
Yeah.
And give it a try.
Yeah, I would go for Myrtle Beach State Park.
Certainly, we're going to try.
It's like about 15 minutes from where I live.
So certainly, we're going to try. We're going to try to do that, right? I don't think it's a either or kind of thing, right? I mean, we don't have to schedule them in the same week, right? But you know, we can try to set up something at Play Card. Does he prefer to do that during the school year, Gerald? Do you know, or does he prefer to do it in this? Because don't they have? Is it summer camps they have going in the summer, or what do they?
Well, they have camps all the time going on, and you know, last time we were there, I mean, they had the ROTC camp going on, and which is great for him because he just sends them over our way. Hey, look at these telescopes, and then they go off and do their thing. So, the camps don't interfere with stargazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
not sure about his staff in the summer. I think they're staffed all year long. I'll have to ask him that.
All right, so we can double check. So
Yeah.
those are two opportunities for doing public observing in the next few months.
Mm-hmm.
So that's action item. I can talk to Myrtle Beach State Park. Gerald can talk to
Play card.
Play
Yeah.
Card. I'm having that kind of day, folks. Talk to Play Card, and we can set something up.
I've got that friend of mine we've discussed this before, I think, past Conway, and he's quite happy to let us use his property.
We should probably try to schedule something out there. So is this in the kind of the general vicinity of Play Card?
No, so if you follow I think it's a 501 going up. Not as far as Anor. I'm trying to think. I'm just looking at the map at the moment. If you look on a map, you're looking for Brown Swamp. There's like a little river down there, Brown Swamp Road. He lives just off that.
Okay.
I'm going to open up the light pollution map and see what it is in terms of bottle. I'm surprised to see I'm in bottle 5.
Is everybody just in deep thought?
Well, I think everybody. I think he's
Checking on.
looking up the portal, the light pollution
It's
map.
halfway between Conway and Aner.
Okay, I see that.
Okay, he's bottle class 4.
Okay.
So we could certainly try to do something out there. It looks like it's pretty easy to find. It's off 501, so
Yeah.
So what's it like, Chris? Is it like an open field or?
Yeah, he's got a 6-acre piece of land there. It's got a bit of a lake on it. He's got a workshop and that on there. And he's friends with the neighbors as well. So he said he'll speak to them and get them to switch all the lights off for us.
Oh, okay.
So if sometimes we'll go down and light a campfire at the bottom of his property there, and it is pretty dark.
Uh-huh.
just trying to see where that's in relation to Play Card.
So
So what's the place called, Chris?
okay, so if you look on, we can see if we can do this on Google Maps quickly. Google Maps.
You should be able to share, Chris.
Okay, I can do that. It's brilliant.
From the mall at the bottom of 501, it's about a 35-minute drive.
Maps.
Brown Swamp Road. Sounds good.
So he is Brown Swamp Road. So that's his property there. And then if I zoom out, it's there. .
All right, yeah, it's about halfway. Yeah, someone's saying halfway between Aner and
Conway, yeah.
Conway. Okay.
Hardware. Yeah, that's his property there. And we go down to the bottom here and it's kind of shielded. There's a row of trees here and there, which kind of shields a bit of light. Yeah, it's not a bad spot.
Chris, can I ask what that, directly across from the trees? Is that like a
Let me go
pavement
there.
or something?
LinkedIn. So across from the trees where?
Go straight, like maybe straight north, nope, to the left, straight up.
North.
Yeah, little further in, there's like a gray area there. Oh, that's his lake, never mind, we can't put
Yeah,
telescopes there.
that's like a lake there.
What about the other one?
But his property line is kind of like that.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that would be interesting.
What's different?
Yeah, maybe we should set up a night out there.
Pick a night and I'll have a word with him.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad for people that, live in the northern part of the Strand, right? Because it'd probably be a lot easier than getting to Hampton, right?
Yeah.
And Hampton's dark. I think it's worth the drive, but again, I don't have to make as long a drive as some of you do. So we can explore that other option as well.
It'd be interesting to find out whether there's far less mosquitoes there in the summer.
Oh.
That would be interesting as well. Yeah.
Oh,
That is one of the challenges at Hampton is there's a few bugs out there in the summer,
yeah.
with all that
Swarms.
swampland down there.
Mind you, with a name like Brown Swamp Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could very well be. Yeah, it could very well be that there's no getting away from the bugs. So, but it's worth seeing, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's worth a try.
Yeah. We got
I
some
mean, I think
action.
we should have several avenues to go to for us, plus, down by the beach and all that for the public.
Right. So, yeah, for the public, accessible is more important than having dark skies, right?
Yes.
Because they don't come long distances, right? But, again, I agree with you, Tim, that for, member observing, right, you want a little darker skies. We should try to explore a couple of sites, right? And we know we have
Yeah.
Hampton and we can use that, but yeah, if we could get something up in that area, that would be better for people that live in the northern part of the Strand, right?
Yeah,
And
some people don't want to be driving back home 2 o'clock in the morning. So, somewhere local would be good.
Yeah,
And sometimes, sorry, go.
No, please go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was saying sometimes with the public, it's better to have a bit of moon up and some planets.
Exactly. That's usually what I try to usually schedule when I do public events. I try to usually schedule when there's some moon up, right? Because even if the conditions are not ideal, let's face it, if you're in Myrtle Beach State Park, conditions are not going to be ideal because of light pollution anyway. You always have something to look at. You have the moon to look at, and people really like looking at the moon, kind of the planets, and
Mhm.
whereas if when we go out for our observing, we're going to want no moon, so
Yeah.
or dang little. Okay, so I'm going to stop the formal part of the meeting here. So let me go ahead and stop that.